Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics. It's not Sunday night, it is Monday night, but our live show for the week. Well, we're live all the time, but it's one of our live shows. An opening round is done, and you know what that means, boys? It means that boys and ladies, it means it is round 1 week. Season about to get underway, which is absolutely fantastic. Can't wait to be discussing it tonight and recapping everything that happened from opening round. I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And I've got a few of your Fantasy Fanatic co-hosts to jump on with us. And jumping on for his first full pod of the year, we had him on as a little guest appearance, but he's been away on a number of holidays, enjoying himself, having a few mimosas on the beach and having some golf and having some good times overseas. It is Guesty. He's back on. Guesty, mate, good to have you on for a full pod. How are you? How's the travel been?
Mate, I am cherry ripe, I think is the word, mate. Cherry ripe and ready to go for round 1. I think, mate, I've actually timed my preseason just perfectly. Turns out after opening round, we've all got the same team anyway. So, hit my straps at the right time and ready to kick off this week.
Yeah, exactly right. Yes, so very looking much forward to this upcoming week. And joining us from on the road, it is Taezer. Taezer, mate, how are you? How was opening round for you?
Yeah, I'm really well, thanks, mate. Opening round was good. It's good to have footy back, and it was some good footy. Certainly the Doggies Brizzy game was a cracker, but just glad to get back into it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're, as I said, driving on the freeway at the moment on the way things from Bustleton over in WA. So we've got a WA-centric pod here with obviously Guesty, yourself and Tom. And then I'm sort of an honorary WA guys, but someone's been over there a number of times. But, mate, it's good to have you on the road or otherwise. And Tom has jumped on as well. Tom, mate, how are you? Did you enjoy opening round?
I did. It was nice to watch footy with a meaning for a change, rather than just trying to look into roles and time on ground and points per minutes and all the other stuff that we try and look into pre-season. Actually getting 5 games of footy, which I think is 4 too little or 5 too many, to which way you want to look at it, for opening round. But we get what we're given, and we've got to use that data to really get out the best starting size we can out from Thursday onwards.
Yeah, yes, exactly right. That's a big week for sure. But we do have a bit of a giveaway that we said. Obviously, the Patreon, the winner of the Zoom call will be announced on the Patreon after the podcast. So you guys have about 1 hour to jump on the Patreon, join one of our tiers, and go on the running to win a 20-minute Zoom call tomorrow night or Wednesday, whenever so we organise it. But before round 1, so we can review your team. So if you want to join that, make sure that you do. But Guesty, we do have another giveaway from the 20th coach of the Content Creators Cup, sponsored by your company, Infinite Wealth. So who's won it?
Mate, so we had almost 150 coaches enter. So I did the draw just before we jumped on. And the winning coach for 2026 is a coach by the name of Muhammad. He's got an email of Manabulzi. So maybe it's Muhammad Bulzi or Muhammad Manabulzi or something along those lines. We've got your contact details. So I'll be in contact to let you know how to get into the Content Creators Cup. But congratulations to Muhammad. And mate, we'll see how you fare against 19 of the biggest names in fantasy footy.
Yeah. He's coming in to grab runner-up at the best, because Bales will be back on top where he belongs this season and get for revenge after losing against Luke from the Ball Boys a couple of seasons ago. So I'm out for revenge for there. So looking forward to that. Did you want to run through quickly who's in the Content Creators Cup for those listening at home?
Yes, of course. I would love to do that.
I've done it without any preparation for Guesty, so he's going to get the list now. So
come on. It's not opening.
Yeah, this is live show at its finest, and when you don't have it on the run sheet, that is exactly what happens.
Here we go. I've got it. All right. So from the AFL Fantasy Fanatics, we've got Bales, Guesty, Jordox, Taezer, and Tom. From Pod, we've got Holmesy. Obviously, what's Holmesy now? He's got 3 or 4 hats now. Runner-up twice.
A couple of runners up. Yeah.
Probably one of the highest decorated coaches in the league. Louis Harmy and Jordy DeSena. Then we've got from Hat Chat, DC, Jake, and Nathan. Nathan won it last year, so he's going to look to go back to back. So he'll be tough competition. Then of course we got Mitch and Luke from the Ball Boys. We've got MJ and Mini Monk from the coaches panel. And then we've got DT Lemon, obviously, well known. What is he? Top 400 last 5 years or something along those lines. We've got Jeppa from Plus Six Podcast. And the newest addition this year is Vams, who doesn't quite consider himself a content creator, but mate, X counts. So you're probably more prominent on X than any of us. So welcome to the ranks of the content creators.
Yep. It's going to be an exciting season, and I'll be posting those on the Fantasy Fanatics socials on Monday or Tuesday every week, and we'll go through, and the results will be posted there if you guys want to follow along as well. But we did have a number of games. So let's go through our game-by-game review, sponsored by our good friends at Keeper Fantasy. So for those playing at any draft leagues, it's not too late to enter your draft leagues, or it's not too late to move your drafts over to Keeper. So if you would like to move your draft over to Keeper, it's quick and easy. It's easy to do and set up. And also, if you're drafting, it's also a good week because you've got the opening round data as well. So if you want to draft or do anything like that, head to keeperfantasy.com. and see what is the most trusted draft platform. And so that's keeperfantasy.com. And yes, shout out to Legends there for sponsoring us throughout the preseason, which has been fantastic. But we'll start off Sydney versus Carlton. So I obviously did a review with the Ball Boys a little bit a few days ago. So we'll go through quickly these players here, because we did chat about them a bit in depth. But we'll start off with Errol Goulden. Tom, is he someone that he was someone you were keen on before, but is he locked himself into your team?
I'm not going to say he's absolutely locked into my team. I was pretty keen after Thursday. The more I mull it over, I don't like his next couple of fixtures into his bye. So that role wasn't as ripe as what I would love it. There's a lot of forward time in that game. So the score was great, and he will probably be there for me, but I've just got a little bit of worry about the role and the run. And if I want to change a structure to bring maybe two big rucks in, then I need to cull somebody somewhere, and that might be where I go.
Yeah, exactly. But
hey, Tom, let's talk about that role for a second. So in the first half, playing forward, I know obviously Sydney kind of changed gear in the second half and he moved into the midfield, and both Grundy and him kind of took off. But how did you see that? Is that lingering from the injury, the ankle injury? Do you think, he's not also that one-on-one contested player that you're starting to see a lot of midfield makeups kind of being built around, right? So I could see from a role perspective why they'd play Goulden on the outside, or up forward. But how do we see it moving forward? Do we kind of see that maybe coming back a little bit? Do we think that's now done and dusted and gone?
So we saw a similar role in the quarter he played against GWS. Like, it started that first bounce and the first period of the first quarter that he actually played, he was forward of the ball. So that wasn't just the practice game thing that I thought it might be. That actually went on in round one. Do I think Cox might have been trying to be a little bit too fancy? Maybe. But due to the severe differences in amount of centre ball ups in the two halves, it's really hard to get a read on whether he had more in the second half than he did in the first half by percentage. But because there was so few in that first half, it's really hard to get a read on whether that just was due to the lack of balls. He didn't get moved. There was no time for those rotations. I'm a little bit more scared than what I was, but that 120 plus score is very hard to look against someone that I've been pretty keen on all preseason.
Yeah, he's been someone I've been pretty keen on all preseason. That score, I think, did lock it away. They did play a lot better when he did move more into that CBA role. Brodie Grundy, we'll touch on him when we get to the Dogs game, because it's going to be, I want to get all our thoughts on, is it Grundy or is it English? Because Grundy was good once again with a ton there. A good second half as well when Sydney really got on top. Quite a first half, but still looked as good as ever. So someone to be watching there. Taezer Sam Walsh, 99, had the most CBAs on the ground of any player, including Rucks, which is a really good sign. Rested the last 5 minutes as well when the game was done. So do you see this 99 almost as a good thing? That maybe some people will be scared off with the lower score. He's got the round 2 bias. People might just go get him after. Did you see what you needed to, even with some attention from James Jordan in the second and third quarter?
Yeah, I did. I was really happy with Sam Walsh's game. That high inside time with the CBAs, he was getting tagged. He got a lot of attention from James Jordan, but he was still getting to the ball. So it restricted the amount of marks he could get because he just couldn't get free. But I was pretty happy, and I think that game's probably more one of his basement games as opposed to a ceiling game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm still keen. He's got Richmond, then the bye, then Melbourne and North Melbourne post that bye. So I think really good early run for Sam Walsh, and could even be a VC guy in the first game that if you wanted to trade into a red dot, if you put up a 150, you could potentially look at doing that. And then you got Jagger Smith and Josh Sarong. I think they both locked themselves into our sides. Jagger's been a lock, been the number 1 lock, Tom, for all the preseason. I've been on him as a number 1 lock. But no, he's locked in. And Josh Sarong with that 70+ score as well is, I think, with that just that cash in he's going to get, I think we've got to have him on our benches. Did have 0 points in the third quarter when a few people, including myself, did put him into the team at halftime. But he was on the bench for 15 minutes. So I'll blame it on the bench, not any mods or anything like that. But yeah, Josh Sarong, I think someone that's been put into a lot of teams. Moving on to Gold Coast and Geelong, obviously with the other games, there are a few players that rule themselves out. We'll go through the ones that are relevant. That are in a lot of teams that rule themselves out, or ones that have brought themselves into teams. In Gold Coast, Geelong, Guesty, someone that locked themselves into our teams, Christian Petrarca, someone that was on the sort of just on the outside, probably in my squad of 35, and a lot of people already had him in their squad. But is he someone that, if you didn't have him before, is he now locked in at F2 and just not touching it now? Oh, Guesty, you're on mute.
Muted.
Sorry, boys. So yeah, look, I think out there may have been a lot of coaches that are probably a bit on the fence with Petrarca, not really knowing whether that, how that mid-forward split was going to go. Also probably a bit concerned about the Gold Coast Suns game style, and bit of a it's a bit tougher to rack up fantasy points with that kind of game style. But obviously it looks like he's was always going to be the number 1 banana, and obviously with their stocks a bit lower at the moment as well. How long is Rao out for? Do we have any update on that?
Round 4, I think, is last thing I heard.
After his bye, I believe.
Yeah, look, I think with his early run, I mean, obviously a pretty tough matchup for opening round, but then his run gets pretty strong. I think obviously with a good score on the board to begin with the role that he's got, he's pretty close to being a lock in. I would think most coaches' sides. Yeah,
exactly. Someone that's put himself into my team now, and that's what happens when you get opening rounds. You get some picks that you have and not a lot of other people have, and on the other hand, you get picks that go in. So it's all sort of swings and roundabouts, and I think a lot of us will have similar players in our sides. And Tanner Bruin being one of those players, that's someone that I was fairly keen on heading into this game, and scoring 98, played wing and then went behind the ball. So he's someone that it'll be interesting to see where he settles in terms of his role, but he locked himself into all our sides being priced in the 500Ks, and someone that might even get defender status if he's playing as that sort of defender winger sort of role there, which I think is locked him in, along with Leo Lombard being someone that I think is locked in to our benches as well. Tom, Will Powell was someone that a few people had thought about, but was this enough from you to put a line through him and not enough?
Really, really strong role. If he'd have scored 15 to 20 points more, I think he would almost be a lock for me. Just with those 2 great fixtures coming up, having the most CBAs for Gold Coast was a really good sign. But this is kind of what we've seen from Will Powell, just not quite having that fantasy game. And unfortunately, 69 points, not enough for me to start him with that early buy, especially when we've got players at a similar price who went almost double that score.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a few of those players there, and just didn't quite do enough. The role was there, but I think the good thing with the role is him and Alex Davies still had a lot of CBAs, and yet Petrarca was still right up there with CBAs. So I don't think Petrarca's role is changing, and I think that's probably the good thing there with Will Power getting a lot of CBAs. And the thing with Petrarca as well, this is his highest rated game in his career, which is pretty crazy with the amount of very good games he's played, including the Norman Smith performance, obviously in the 2021 grand final. This was better in terms of all the sort of statistics and stuff like that. So absolutely fantastic from Christian Petrarca. Let's move to GWS and Hawthorn. So a few players to run through. So Stephen Kineo is not someone that will be probably looking at in Classic, but just someone in draft to pick up, will get forward status. Could be someone interesting in round 6 if he can put some good scores up there. He could be someone to be looking at. But Taze, Lockie Whitfield, Lockie Ash, they scored okay. Whitfield's been someone I've been keen on in the preseason. Is expensive, but we know Giants do chip round better there. But it's not quite what we saw from them. They did chip a little bit, but not as much as what they have done. Was that, do you think, due to the Hawthorn matchup? Was it maybe a bit of a change in game style? Maybe it didn't work last year, so maybe a little bit quicker, and maybe that might not mean these 120-plus scores on as much of a regular basis last year for both Whitfield and Ash.
Yeah, look, it's definitely something I'm looking out for. They didn't seem to be looking for each other quite as much with that waxing that was really clear last year. And also, I think they did get a little bit of attention. Not quite, I wouldn't go as far as saying a tag, but I did notice that certainly Lockie Ash was getting run with by Finn McGuinness. So, look, I probably want to see another game, but I do. It makes sense. It makes sense that they spent a lot of time kicking around in the back line, and it affected their ability to get forward and get scores on the board at times. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a slight change to that game plan, which has made both guys, maybe not quite the 105 to 110 locks that they were last year.
Yeah, I think I agree. He's made his way out of my side for the time being, and I think that they will probably stay that way, but they do have a good, nice early run, so that is good for him. I think this game's really about a lot of players ruling themselves out, because there was no tons in this game, and another player that potentially could have ruled himself out, Guesty, Connor McDonald. He was the 4th highest scoring player for Hawthorn, which is a tick in itself, right? But he was 4th for CBAs, but they had a clear top 3, and then they had like 4 guys that had a splattering of anywhere from like sort of 5 to 12 CBAs. So like guys like Nick Watson, Dylan Moore, guys like that running through the long with Connor McDonald. And the fact that Petrarca's a lock, we think that another guy from the Dogs is a lock in our forward line. Leo Lombard is a rookie. Is he just the unlucky guy, I guess, that's just maybe squeezed out from that round 3 bye?
Yeah, I think so. I think he quite potentially could be this year's Harry Perryman. Like in terms of like one of those mid prices that you really kind of put in there to make, not only score decent, put up good scores, but to make you cash. And I just think he's one of those players that just isn't going to hurt you. I mean, once again, 79 doesn't really, have a huge impact on his break even. I think we've got other better options in the forward line that we could be picking at much cheaper prices, which make them a lot riskier. And I think ultimately, look, I mean, potentially someone that you can pick, but I had him in my team, but he's no longer in my team. I just, I don't see him making that kind of 25 points worth of upside that you need him to make. And look, with those mid prices that have really been those kind of winning mid prices in seasons gone by, they've had really big starts to the year, and it's kind of that cash gen that happens early on in the season that really kind of catapults your head. I don't think C-Mac is a player that's going to hurt you. If you're convinced about him, I think you can have him in your side, but I think it's particularly with the other options there and the rookie choices that we've got at the moment. I think he's one of those players that you can fade.
Yeah, and that's a good point as well. So I think playing for Hawthorn, who don't traditionally score a lot of points, can be someone that you fade to start with, and he's probably not going to hurt you too much. And if you wanted to fit him in, you could play Petrarca or Shizu in the mids. but I think, yeah, he's someone that's made way
And
from my team.
to really
as well.
nail it, Bales, like you kind of said it at the start, right? There was that solid 3 or 4, was it? And then, there was like about 4 or 5 players that kind of filled the remainders of the centre bounce attendances, and, of which CMAC was one. You probably would have wanted to see more CBAs for him. So I'm just a bit, and he doesn't look that solidified in that midfield mix. So yeah, that's technically why I think we should be fading him.
Yeah, Taze?
Yeah, I would just add one thing, is that one of the reasons Hawthorn were really flicking players through there was because they were getting absolutely smashed by the Giants. They were really struggling to win clearance. So it could have just been that they were trying different things out. They were seeing if they could get a reaction or a performance from anyone in there. I wouldn't necessarily say that it is, that Hawthorn are just going to run, 8 guys through the midfield every single week. I think they probably do want some stability, but they just weren't getting a good performance from any of their mids.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that could be a good point to be watching for sure. But yeah, I think probably someone that we're not looking at starting to begin with, but some people may still go there. I think Toby Greenpro ruled himself out with a low 60 score with the bye. He's a bit expensive. He had some CBAs, but probably not the score. I think Briggsy, I really wanted to see some more from Briggsy, but 67, had a good start to the game, but faded in the last 3 quarters. Not something we wanted to see a bit more. So he probably ruled himself out as well. Tom, Harry Ralston, he's got 63, and he looks like Sheldrick was someone we didn't touch on the Sydney game, but he played low game time as that 5th mid that would just come on for a bit of impact. Ralston, fairly similar. Also, disposal was fairly questionable a number of times, did turn over a few times. Is that just didn't score enough? We just rule him out, particularly if he's going to have low tog?
Yeah, I think there's better options, and I think with that time on ground, I think there's rookies who will just be able to score what he scored. So paying up that premium, that 200-300k more for him, I don't see as an option. I think he could be a fantasy player in season's future, but 2026 starting pick, I think it's pretty dead in the water. Playing that little time on grounds isn't ideal.
Yeah, exactly. Now, Tom, I want to go back to you for this one as well, right? So can I interest you in a 649k defender in Sam Taylor? No, I'm joking. He didn't play. He's going to be out for a while. Can I interest you in another GWS defender who everyone knows I can very much be talked into starting a Giants defender that's underpriced? Joe Fonte, 521k is what he is priced at, and scored a 90. Break even is -17 on the app, but we know that they've sort of behind sort of the website, they've gone up in price and they'll go up again. So it's sort of hard to look at the break even and go, yeah. But is he someone that you could look at as a bit of a cash gen? Got the better buy as well, round 4.
Yeah, for me, this is an absolute no. Sam Taylor
got shut down real quick.
And I'll tell you why. Sam Taylor went 30 points more than that, so it's guaranteed a much higher cash jump than what Joe Fonte is. Joe Fonte, if Joe Fonte scores a 59, he only goes up 66k. That for me isn't enough instant hit for someone who I don't see any long-term upside in. Basically, what he's done is taken the point off Whitfield and Ash in this game. They're actually kicking it to him rather than to each other. That could be a game plan, and I think more likely that's just how the game turned out, with maybe Lockie Ash getting a Finn McGuinness run with, that kind of thing. So for me, that instant sugar hit isn't enough for Joe Fonte, and he's someone we've not thought of in the preseason. It has to be for me to start somebody who went crazy in round 0, they have to go crazy, and 90 for someone priced about 60 isn't enough. So for me, it's a big no.
And for those playing as well, right? And Taze, I'll go to you in a sec. I know you're going to say something there, right? But I'm not keen on Fonte either. I'm just playing around with it because obviously I picked Sam Taylor last year, and I stuffed myself up by not putting him in Chile. Now that's the last time we're going to hear about Sam Taylor, unless his head pops up in a pod, right? But Taze, you wanted to say something there as well. Oh, on mute.
Have you muted him,
Yeah,
Bales?
he's on mute. No, he's still talking. Taezer, you're on mute.
Hello.
Yes, there
Can
you
you
go.
hear me?
Yeah. Yes, we can. This is what happens when you drive. So this is what happens when you drive and pod.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. So I was just going to say with Fonte, look, he's a young player. He's showing a lot of promise. But last year, it was around about the buys, he scored a 86, and then I think it was a 74 or a 76, and then he followed it up with a 17, like about 80% game time, 1-7. So that's the warning.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing with him, that you could just get a bad score your way, and then he's not making any cash at all. We do have a super chat here from Tim Ashworth, who's a regular contributor. Thank you, mate. He's saying, who's good out of Connor McDonald, Rochelle, Filippo? I'm assuming that's Harley Reid, but different position.
No, Murphy Reid. No, Murphy Reid.
Sorry, Murphy. Yeah, sorry, Murphy Reid. Apologies to all the Freo fans out there for saying it's not Murphy Reid. I was like, who's the Reid there? But Tom, if you had to rank those four, how would you rank them?
Oh dear. Ooh, I think I am Rochelle 1. Probably Philip 2. Murphy Reid 3, C-Mac 4.
Oh.
But that is really close. I don't mind any of them. I'm probably going to start one of those players, and I haven't decided which one it is. So that could change tomorrow. I think they're all really, really close. And I think they're all fairly good picks for where they're priced. We'll get on to Philip when we talk about the Pie Saints game. I think that's really close. I want someone else's opinion on that, because I can't give a definitive one.
I'm Rochelle 1, and no, not Crow's bias. I just think that midfield role is there for him, and I think that he's going to have a strong year this year. I'll tell you what, we'll talk about Filippo later on, but I'm almost Murphy Reid over Filippo now, just because you get the buy with Filippo, the low score, so he's not going to make a huge amount of cash early. It was sort of playing a bit of dodgeball, as the traders said in that game. So I almost think Murphy Reid. So I think Connor McDonald is last just because of the buy. That round 3 buys is probably going to be a lot of problematic for a lot of coaches. So that's probably where I've got those 4 ranked. But it is close. I think that they can all be good picks in their own way. But I've got Rochelle as the one if you are just trying to choose one there. That's it from the Giants Hawks game. So let's move over to Brisbane and the Bulldogs. Another high-scoring game and a cracking game of footy as well. Obviously, a couple of suspensions for the Brisbane out of there, but all in all, it's a very good game of footy to watch. Favourite game of the weekend for sure. Now, Dane Zorko, Guesty, he's obviously another year older, but he put up another good score, and it looks like he's going to have another strong year again. But the round 2 buy is obviously the big thing here. Is it just too expensive, and he's just at that age where you're not paying up that much to start the season with him, and he's someone that will trade into rather than start?
Yeah, look, I think that's kind of how you wrap it up. I'm not a fan of trading him in. Just like we're not bringing in people like Wang or Dacos or players like that. I mean, he might go on a run where he's scoring 120s, 130s. I mean, obviously that game did seem to be a little bit of an outlier in terms of how defensive and how many marks got taken. I worry about his age. I worry about his price. I worry about the early buy. And I'm looking for players, in my side that I feel like they got a bit of value baked into them.
Yeah. Well, one of those players, Connor Buderick, I think he's locked himself into all of our sides with that score. I've been keen, but I will shout out Jordy, who's might be listening over from London there. He was keen on him from the moment the preseason started. He was keen on him. So Jordy was the first one there. And I know Jordox also, who's not on tonight, he'll be hopefully tomorrow night with our Q&A, but he was also very keen early. He's locked himself in, along with Lockie Jakes. He's locked himself in as well, at least onto our benches, but could be a D6 option. Maybe not with GWS round 1, even though he did score quite well against Brisbane, but someone that he's got to be in our sides to make a fair bit of cash. But Taezer, you got Ty Gallop, who scored a 62, I think it was, and Michael Selwood, who also scored, I think, about a 61 there. They're cheap rookies, but they've now got the double price rise sort of in their price movement now going forward. Do either of these guys interest you? Do they take maybe some maybe precedence over maybe say a Tom Blamirez who's 230 hasn't played yet? Maybe it's a Lockie Doverston instead of like a Tiger, maybe go Gallup instead. Have they maybe moved up your order in terms of potentially selecting them to start the year?
Yeah, look, I think that's probably the biggest question I've got after opening round is how far I can push this cheat code. And I didn't have Selwood or Gallup really on my radar as players I was interested to start for all the preseason. But, they are essentially a couple 50 scores away from making about 120 grand between the two of them going into the next week. So they have to be considered. I'll probably start one of them, probably not two of them, but I'm fascinated. And if anyone's got strong opinions either way, I'd like to hear your reasoning.
Yep. Tom?
I will go as far as saying, if you're going to start Doverston, who is a forward pocket, who's priced at more, why wouldn't you start a Tiger? You don't need them in round 2. You have a guaranteed good score that you're happy with. I don't think there's any other round 2 forwards that you're really going to want to play him for. I think that Ty Gallop's almost a walk-up, and if he can do that without kicking bulk goals in that forward line, I don't think he gets dropped for Draper. I think he's in that forward line. I think that job security is good. I think he's just an absolute walk-up pick in that forward line if you're going with the 3 rookie option with Devrop on field. If it's just Devrop, if you've got no rookies on field, I think it's Devrop and Lombard, and that's absolutely fine. Selwood is also in my side, once again for the fact that he's got that score in the bank. However, he's a round 3-5 player, and that is the struggle week. So it might be that we don't want to start another round 3 player because we're already having to cover half of our squad who have buys that round. So he's the one that is, I need to work out the sums of buy rounds. But at the end of the day, you could be trading this player out if they make quick cash and get off and get the rookie that you missed.
There's not many round 3 buy defenders.
I mean, obviously there's his teammate Lockie Jakes on your bench, but there might be some kind of workaround that you might have. Depends how many defender mids you have. So I know there's a couple. Yeah. There's maybe a midfielder or 2 that you might want, and there's a job lot of forwards. So you might
also pretty common to have a defender in your utility as well. So
yeah. Well, he is currently in my utility, but yeah, that But if you've got room for him, there's definitely you can definitely go there. And the fact that Bailey Dale played, I don't know if there's anybody definitive to come back into that back
Riley
half.
Sanders. Like Riley Sanders, because I was talking to Jake about this as well on Friday night. Him and Caddy as well, who are 2 Dogs fans.
Yeah,
I was chatting to them, and they think Sanders comes in and pushes Bailey Williams to defence, which is he played on the wing covering for Sanders. So they reckon it sort of shuffles back. But you sort of wonder with a win against Brisbane, maybe they weren't expecting to win. Maybe they were. But maybe just
is Archie Jones out? Is Archie Jones out for an extended period?
So maybe Riley Sanders plays forward for a week, and Bailey Williams keeps a wing role. So yeah, maybe he still fits in. I don't think they'll change too much after winning against Brisbane, put it that way. So maybe it's just Sanders comes in for Artie Jones and that's it. So yeah, I think he gets at least a week, maybe 2, and we'll see how it goes from there. We have a super chat from Lucas Cactus, which I'll get to very shortly, but I just want to get our thoughts on English v Grundy. So I'll start with Guesty. So Guesty's actually got something different based on the team he told me about last night, and maybe it's still the same, maybe it's changed. But if you had to pick classic head-to-head videos, we did this video with Rowan, obviously about a week or so ago. So if you had to pick one, who would it be? And then also, what are you looking like in your rucks at the moment?
So for me, it's both. Look, I've had it this way for a little while. I mean, I know there's been a lot of talk about obviously McAndrew at R2. And I guess I've just got a lot of reasons for, there's no primomes I'm kind of missing out on. I think there's enough value options across our team that are solid enough. And for me, Ruckies determine your structure. And if you haven't got McAndrew at R3, then who have you got there? What, Zaka Telikoski, who, probably might not even get a game next week. CDT from the Eagles, which, he might score 30s or 40s or something along those lines. I think, just as much as we talk about, I know different coaches have different philosophies here, but I've always been of the kind of mindset of you want 30 green dots. I mean, this last couple of years, in particularly in fantasy, it's been a race to make money and finish your teams. And if you are not making money in that ruck 3 spot, you're effectively giving up a spot. And yes, I know we talk about having a red dot for the vice captain loophole, but apart from round 1, we're going to have red dots for the next few rounds after that. So I don't want to give up the opportunity of making as much cash in R3. So for me, there's only one R3 that can be picked, and that is McAndrew, and so that's where he slots in.
Yeah. If you had to pick one between the two, though, so if someone said pick one, who do you think is going to be the pick? Who is it?
I'm not sure what's happening, guys. I can't hear you. If you can hear me,
we can hear you, but maybe
I might have to get out and come back in.
Yeah, I think that might be the case, and I think Taezer's left as well. So got dramas happening at Fantasy Fanatics HQ. So just me and Tom now in the studio. If you had to pick one between the two, Tom, who would it be? Because both put up low hundreds, but both look good as well.
Yeah, I think I can't split them. So then I think, who am I going to be able to get cheaper? And I think that the run for the first half of the year for Tim English is slightly easier than the run for Brodie Grundy, so I'm going to go with English. If you're 10k short, or whatever the difference in cash is between English and Grundy, I'm happy for you to go to the other one. Quite honestly, if you like, I think English is 1 or 2 points better than Grundy this year, or at least for the first half of the year. But I want both of them as quick as I can, so I'm not against starting him, and that's what I was talking about with Errol Golden. The only thing you're doing is you're committing to playing with 20 if you have Track, Buderick, Lombard in your forward line, and both English and Grundy, because you can't cover both of those in the rucks, and you can't cover three forwards on the bye. So you're going to be guaranteed to pay 20, or you're going to have to trade one of them. So that's my only red flag about that setup. I don't particularly like playing 20. I'd rather play minimum 21.
Yeah, something to consider with this early buy as well, because round 3, I thought it was going to be round 2. Round 3 is certainly the tricky one there. And then Taze, to finish it off, who would you pick between Grundy and English if you had to go one?
I still like English's ability to get involved in transition more. He showed he had a game where he was being looked for kick-ins and at all points in transition, and I just feel like that he's gonna have real pop games, and he's about to enter quite a juicy run, whereas Grundy has some more challenging fixtures over the opening weeks. It's only marginal, and I think if there was a player that I would really needed, and the difference was exactly 40k or 39k, then I would be open to dropping down to Grundy. But I'm considering English is a captain option for round 1, and I don't see that for Grundy until about round 4 that he's going to be a captain option.
Yeah, no, it's a good point there as well.
I would just add one more thing, and the one reason I'm not really adding to what Tom said about not having 2 players in the bye. The other reason I don't really want to set and forget this year is we still haven't seen what the ruck rules are going to do, and as soon as you set and forget, you you kind of cut yourself out to options of a, if another ruck loses a bunch of money for any reason, let's say someone like Rowan Marshall, TDK could do an ACL next week, and then Rowan Marshall's going to come back in as the number one ruck, and he's going to be priced at about 90 in 3 weeks' time. And unfortunately, you've got to miss out on that opportunity because you've decided to set and forget.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, good point as well there. But I've been someone's like set and forget, and it's something that I have played around with in the structure as well. Couple plays before we do go to the next game. Zane Zakastelski, Guesty, is he someone to put on the bench? Because my worry with I've had to try really hard to get that correct. There's so many letters in that name that it's very hard to pronounce. But
I think you nailed it, Bales. I think you nailed it.
Yeah, I did. I'll put it that way because I heard him say on the commentary, so I just made sure I remembered it when I said. But then again, commentary I don't always get it correct. So, but there you go. I'll put my faith in the commentary from Saturday night. But is Zane someone to put at R3 on utility? My worry before I get to your thoughts, Guest, is that as an R3, he's got Harry Boyd. I was about to say Tom Boyd. That's gone back a long way. Harry Boyd of last year vibes about him at the R3 purple dot. He's going to be emergency if he's not playing. Draper back this week. Is it just you're better off going a red dot instead if you're going for him, or going for, as you say, McAndrew, maybe set and forget, maybe it's a Vicentini at R3? Would you rather go for other options and there's just that worry that he becomes a purple dot and annoying that you can't even loot with him?
Yeah, so I guess the reason why we're even considering him is because he had that 54. I mean, I think
he looked good as well.
Yeah, he did look good. And, I think this is what's going to make it really hard with him, right? Like, because of all the outs that Brisbane are going to have, that's a good, strong chance that he might get another game and he might play more of a defensive role rather than the ruck role, considering, the stocks that are coming back. 44% time on ground really worries me. I mean, he might not even get named. And to some extent, it might be best for all involved if he doesn't get named because, I can't see the scoring being that solid. I think his job security is pretty shaky. Once again, he might be one of these. He might be, the kind of R3 that we put in there, thinking it's going to, solidify us or give us some kind of cover with, those running McAndrew at R2. But I think it's a bit of a trap.
Yeah, I'd rather go CDT at that point if you do want some sort of cover because he's going to play. But I just don't know if the scoring is going to be there and the questionable job security. And final play to Taze.
There is one thing I'll just add with Zakowski is that keep an eye on any media about what Brisbane are going to do to cover the gaps, because they've got Jack Payne out, Harris Andrews out for 3 games. I think Gardner's out for 1 or 2.
Yep.
They're going to have spots to fill in the back line, and I think they don't have the extra defenders there. So there's a really good chance either Oscar Allen goes back behind the ball or Zaka Zakowski goes and plays as a defender. So if they play their hand early, in which way they're going to go and say, look, we're gonna stick him as our centre half back for the next 3 weeks, then I actually think it becomes a play that you could entertain. But until then, there's too many moving parts.
Yeah, I like how you said his name twice and said it differently twice and got it wrong twice. That's absolutely hilarious. But yes, Zakastelski is probably someone we're not going to be looking at terms of my own side anyway. And final play for this game, because a lot of irrelevant players, Tom, from this game. Kitty Coleman, he went 20 points above his price stat. He had the half-back role, but it wasn't as fruitful as, say, a few years ago when there was no Jasper and no Wilmot back there. Obviously, Zorko was at his absolute piggery on Saturday night, so that's the worry. Was it just not enough for you, and you'd rather watch another game and maybe jump on after his early bye?
Yeah, as Guesty said, Rookie's defined his structure, and he's taking up a cheaper defender slot, and I think we've got plenty of defenders who I think will score very similar to him at 300k cheaper. So it's a no from me. If you had a forward status, then it's probably a completely different question. But as a defender, not for me.
Yeah, agreed. And Lucas Cactus, apologies for the wait on that. We're just getting to the discussion, but you did have a super chat. Thank you very much, mate. They're saying, "G'day, legends. Caldwell or Sinclair?" So that might be a bit of a Rosie in the midfield action potentially there. So quick sort of answer from everyone. So I'm going to go. I like Sinclair and what I saw on the weekend. We'll chat about him soon, but I'm Sinclair just with the questions around Essendon's midfield. Guesty, Caldwell or Sinclair?
Yeah, I think I'm a bit worried about how many players are going to be running through that Essendon midfield. So, although once again, I'm not sure that I think we might be wearing some rose-coloured glasses because of Sinclair's pre-season. I'm not sure that there's the upside there. I mean, maybe there is because Wang's moving more into the centre of the ground, but yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to play out either.
Yeah, Taze?
I'll go the dissenting view. I think Caldwell is the better play there. He's shown the upside. I think Jack Sinclair is he is what he is. He is what he's priced at. He always has pop scores where he'll go 120, and he'll throw in 2 weeks of 90, and that's how he regresses back to that mean of about 100 to 104, and he's gonna be somewhere around there, and he has a bye, and he has some tough fixtures coming up as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I might change mine to Caldwell as well. I think I've been counting for a while. I think I'm just getting cold feet with Caldwell, so I'll go Caldwell as well. Tom?
My worry about Sinclair's role as well is how contained Nas was kept, because there's always that lever just to throw Nas back behind the ball and go back to last year's status quo, and all that upside of Sinclair getting all the vast majority of the kickouts, being the number one distributor back there, might disappear as soon as if they decide to put Nas back behind the ball.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, as well. I heard the traders talking about that today, and I thought that could be something that St Kilda very much do because it didn't work. With the attention last night.
Ross might give it a few weeks, but he also might just go, nope.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we're all looking at Caldwell there. So go Caldwell there, Cactus, if you're choosing between the two.
I'm not completely off.
No, I'm not either. He's popped in now at D2 for me last sort of 48 to 72 hours. So he's someone I'm considering. But yeah, Caldwell if you're looking between the two. Final game, St Kilda and Collingwood, and we have a lot of big scores from this game. It was a massive scoring fantasy game. And I think we do have to start off with Tom, a man that we've heard about problem, but maybe we don't have a problem with Houston. Maybe it's Houston we don't have a problem because he was very, very good with 120 points, racked up the ball. And I think the big thing for me was that Collingwood all preseason, we've heard them say, we want to get Houston the ball. We want it in his hands. And he's been a 90-plus guy in previous years. And I think that this is just – I think he's locked in now. I think you said it in our group chat. If he scores an 80, he goes up like 90K. And worst case is you could trade him after a week, take the cash gen and move over to a player that you don't start with that's in that sort of 800 sort of K price range for a defender. But I think he's going to be someone that they're going to want the ball in his hands. I think he goes over 80 this year. He's in my side. I can't see that moving. The only way it would move is if I decide to go Jacobs instead of Houston for a similar reason, at a similar price point. I see this as more chance to turn out as the Lockie Ash pick from last year than the Sam Taylor pick. We all say how bad the Sam Taylor pick was because he went and averaged his 50 after his pop score in round 1. But we also forget Lockie Ash went huge in round 0 and then ended up being a top 6 defender. So there is the opposite. He also stunk up in round 1. However, if Houston stinks up in round 1, he will be out on my side. And that is the only negative thing I'll say about Houston is I hate his run. His run for the first 4 weeks
is Adelaide by GWS Brisbane, which is pretty stinky. So I'm almost seeing it as I'm happy starting with him. Current plan is probably to trade into the player that either in a restructure or that I miss, take the cash and move on. And if he pops, great, I'll keep him. Like that's kind of where I'm at with the pick, and I think I'm okay with that because I'm not planning too far down the road. And if I have to start a Dan Houston who's averaged 90 plus 3 times in the last 4 years and priced at 67, I think I take it. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Look, I think that you got so many parachute options there. You got a Nick Newman coming back in round 3, although the buyers don't really line up that well. You got a Caleb Windsor, might not have him in your side. And then, I think someone that's we haven't talked much about, he's not in the run sheet. Maybe we'll do him more in the listener player requests. But how are we all feeling about Colby McKercher?
Yeah. Well, I did want to save him for the end, so we'll touch. Well, there's no stuff. We'll touch on him now because you've brought up Guesty. So, what are your thoughts on Colby?
Oh, look, I mean, we would have really liked to have seen him play. I mean, he's coming into round 1, and we haven't seen him at all in the preseason, really. So that's not normally, you normally want players with a good, strong preseason, and players that have had, an interrupted preseason, you normally fade. I mean, I think now Houston offers a little bit of potentially a parachute option where you can maybe make 150K over the first 2 rounds, and then potentially you might even be able to straight swap for a McKercher.
Yeah. I think the positive with McKercher is it hasn't been a soft tissue injury, so he's still been able to do his running and still keep up that sort of match fitness. But yes, it would have been great to have seen him in a cracky game, and I think he got pulled out late from the VFL game. I think that from what I've sort of seen and heard from North Melbourne, I can't sort of definitively say this, but I think it was more the fact that they want him cherry right for round 1. So I think he probably would have played if it was North Melbourne's actual AFL team playing last week. So Tom Taezer,
but that's why they named him, to give him a run, right? And then they pulled him out.
I think they got spooked around Wardlaw. I think they're playing Wardlaw in the VFL, then him re-injured himself. I think they got spooked and went, we can't do this twice to our 2 top 5 draft picks for the last 3 years. I think we've just got to... I've still got him, but I see that as a possible play. I'm not quite sure if the coin quite lines up. I think you're going to need a bit of extra coin.
Yeah,
if you've got coin in the bank if you've got 100K in the bank to do it next week, assuming Colby doesn't go absolutely ballistic against Port, which is a so-so matchup, it's definitely an option open to us. But I think I am confident starting him, but I'm very hot on him. I think he could be a top 6 defender this year. I think the rules really, really suit his style. And we've seen that kind of style of player do very, very well already just in this first 5 games. So I'm probably hotter than most on Colby, but I can completely understand if people want to fade it and watch it. And Houston might be a way to do that. Or even Josh Jacobs for the same reason.
Yeah, exactly. Taze, your quick thoughts, just because a lot of people in our live chat are asking about Colby.
Yeah, look, I'm still pretty keen on Colby. It's a finger injury, so it's not going to affect his running. He's, he might be a little bit out of touch, but he gets a lot of his points just from getting a handball received that he can take on the chest and running out and kicking it. So I think he'll be all right if he can, if they name him, he'll be all right.
Yeah, I'm still keen on him as well. So he's still sitting there for me. Obviously, Darcy can put up a good score. Could be a unique that you go for as a ruck, but I do think that we probably do have those 2 in Grundy and English ahead of Darcy Cameron. So I'd probably go for one of those 2 instead. But you could go both because Darcy Cameron, could have a few points of upside if he does take more of those intercept marks like he has done for a number of years. But I'm probably more keen of starting one of those other two guys. Flanders, I think, locked themselves in at quarter time or halfway through the first quarter. I think a lot of people were maybe thinking, "Oh, what does my team look like with no Flanders?" But he showed why we've been so keen on him, and since the start when he got traded to St Kilda, so he is locked in. I think Jack Carroll locked himself in. I think he can be played on field as well with that pretty nice role in St Kilda's back line. They do like chipping the ball around back there. So, I think he's someone that's got to be locked in at least on your bench. I think Naz probably ruled himself out, which is probably, on the other hand, annoying because he was so highly owned. I was thinking, well, we might get that leg up with him being so expensive, but a lot of people are now not going to start him. But that is the positives and negatives of opening rounds. There you go. Mateus Philippou, before we get on to the two sort of big dogs for Collingwood, Taze, did he do enough to still be picked? Or with the fact that we've got a few forwards to pick, is he maybe a fade potentially now with the bye?
I think because he didn't score as much as most of us would have liked, he's no longer in a must-have pick. If he'd add 80 plus, then that's in must-pick territory with the role. I'm still pretty happy with the role. I'm still pretty happy with his performance. He didn't fill all the stat lines, but he can. I think I'll probably fade him at least to start. But I like that there's a parachute option there of someone else like, let's say we get into round 1 or 2 and Rochelle just doesn't quite have the role there. I think I'd be okay dropping down to a Philippou.
Yeah, really good point. Yep, I like that for sure. So, I think he's someone that a few people still hold, but a few people might jump off and look for another option there in the forward line. Now, Guesty, anyone can be tempted by a big score in opening round, and I know that as well as anyone. But the two Dacos brothers absolutely racked up, and I know Collingwood did rack up a lot of points. But I wonder if that could be a game style shift. Taze, I know you mentioned me about that. I wonder if that's trying to emulate a bit of Brisbane, trying to control the ball a bit more. Could be something there. But obviously, Nick 136, Josh Dacos 141. Is either of them been potential thoughts for you for starting, even with the early bye, with the fact they've got that massive score when the magic number's at its highest? They're not going to now drop anywhere near as much. If not, they're going to increase a bit. Either of the Dacos brothers made their way into Guesty's gerbils?
No, I haven't thought about them at all during the preseason, really. I mean, obviously, we're all going to probably want to have Nick in our sides by season's end, but, there's obviously also a lot of concern when it comes to him getting attention during a game as well. Look, once again, it's probably one of those players that, maybe less practice coaches might, kind of flash by the name and attracted that way. But yeah, look, I mean, and there was talk about Josh Dacos in the preseason, but that talk was all around his role changing and him moving more into the midfield, and with him sort of continuing to stay back. I'm not sure that he's going to be more than that kind of 95, sort of defender. So there's not really a lot of value baked in. Early buy is another problem that we've got with both of them. Nothing that's taken my fancy there.
Yeah, and I think the tricky thing, and Tom, you mentioned before with Josh Dacos, obviously shares the bye with Houston, so you could maybe go Josh over Houston, but I think Houston's got that value on his head if you need that extra couple of 100K there, so it could be something that you do consider. We talked about Jack Sinclair for obviously good score. I think that the role will be, I think, could be the number one guy in there, but as Tom, you mentioned, there is that chance of Nasai going back into defence at any point. Maybe that's another lever they pull. So is that probably enough for you to maybe just go, he's so expensive, the run, I don't know if you've seen the St Kilda run to start, but much like Collingwood, it's actually pretty awful to begin. I think they've got Brisbane, GWS and Port Adelaide in their first 4. I think they've got Melbourne next week, which is good, or this week, but after that it gets tricky. Is that just enough for you to go, he'll be someone I'll target at some point, but maybe not to start with?
Yeah, I find it really hard. And another name from this team who had a halfback role, or from this game who had a halfback role, Marcus Windhager, is another one who he's in the mix if we're doing this nice roll, good start. Watching Nick Dacos running around doing whatever he wanted watching Josh Dacos running around doing whatever he wanted makes you want them. I just can't see. Games aren't going to be that uncontested going forward. There was an inordinate amount of marks taken in that game. Both teams just let each other have it in defensive half. It was. I just can't see. I feel sucked in, and if the score gets back to what we're kind of expecting around that 95 to 105 mark, is there going to be better picks when we've not really been considering more preseason? And this is the crime. This is the difficulty of opening round, I suppose. Is even though it's real footy, are we going back to 2024 where you're just captain and a half back against St Kilda because you're just going to let it happen every week?
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I think Houston is different because he is value, and we see that there. Whereas maybe these other guys, cheaper, and like Sinclair and Dacos are still expensive into defense. So maybe you don't go there. But like Nick as well, few people are going to be tempted by that as well. And obviously with that massive score, but with that early buy, especially round 2, that makes it really hard, particularly when we're looking at Walsh's price at 93 as an option, Tanner Bruhn and Jagger Smith all in there. A lot of people are going to have at least 2 of them, if not 3. It makes it tricky to start a Nick Dacos priced at well over 110 or pretty much around that mark. And Ryan Marshall as well, the one obviously Taze mentioned before as well when he was talking about the rucks there, but concussed, so he'll miss this week. And he could be someone that we get at a cheaper price in a fold 90 round 6, because it looks like he's going to get fold saves, but he wasn't scoring well to begin with. So I think he'll score better than that, but he wasn't scoring very particularly well. So just a watch on him for the next few weeks there as well. There's a lot of questions in the live chat. A lot of people getting ready for the teams. We're going to answer all the questions tomorrow night, sort of some sort of combo questions you guys have got. So I'm just going to go through a couple here that people have asked about a specific player. So we'll just player request will answer there, and then we'll do all the questions tomorrow night. So we'll have a Q&A tomorrow night there as well. So make sure you guys tune in for that. But we obviously do have another sponsor this year, jumping through for the whole season, which is our good friends at Game Day Squad. They're jumping on for another season again, and obviously kicked off last week with opening round and got my squads all locked in there, but it is not too late to jump in. Obviously, round 1 is just about to start, obviously a few days away. So if you haven't jumped into Game Day Squad with all their new competitions, head to gamedaysquad.com.au, use the code BAILSDT when you do sign up, and you do get some free packs to jump in and get started. And the best thing about it is you get put into comps where people that have just started as well. You not get into comps with the people that have been there for 3, 4, 5 years time. You're in the starter comps, and you can work your way up and build your club from there. So use code BAILSDT and you get yourself some free packs and some good players there. Hopefully you guys do get lucky with some good pulls from those packs. So head to gamedaysquad.com.au. All right, Caleb Windsor is the first one here from Byron Foster and a few people. Taze, I'll go to you for this one. Caleb Windsor, what are your thoughts on him potentially? Is that D4 is probably where people are going? I think D3 might be too high there, but D4, what are your thoughts on Caleb Windsor as an option? No, Taze, you're on mute again.
Thanks, mate. Kayla Wins is someone I've considered most of the preseason, but he's just stopped himself short of being a lock because the role's there, but his fantasy scoring just hasn't been there. He's a guy who averaged 70 odd as a junior, 70 odd in the VFL, but just what does he have to average to be a good pick? Maybe it's 70. But I don't know. I'm.
Oh, I think
Taze
on.
Yeah, I think it's 75 what he needs to average, and I think Dan Houston is a brilliant placeholder. Have a look at Windsor round 1. If Windsor goes well round 1, you can literally make that sideways.
Yeah,
or
really
go
good
down.
shout.
That's so that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I like it. Well, I think we got Taze back as well, so did freeze for a second there. Tommy Gardner's got this one here saying he's asking about Sam Lawler because we didn't obviously mention in the mid-price discussion. Guesty, any interest in a Sam Lawler, or is he someone that I know Selb has mentioned this a few times? I've heard a few people say maybe is he someone that we watch and jump on if we want to jump off an early buy player?
Look, I think I think with a lot of these kind of players, like even with a Windsor, we talked about a Connor McDonald. I don't think they're going to kill you, right? If they're going to be good picks for the season, you can watch them for at least a week or two. My worry with Sam Layla is he's got more of that dusty role, which is they want him more. He's more of an impact player. We saw that in a couple of games from him last year where he really kind of took the game by the scruff of the neck and did well for Richmond. I think that's what they're trying to kind of recreate there as well. So look, he's going to have some CBAs, but I don't know that they're going to be high enough to make him a must-have pick. But once again, if you're hot on him, I think he's undervalued. It's just a question by how much. We'll see how he goes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Will Bite was asking about the R2, about Beckandry R2, leaving that for tomorrow night because that'll be probably one of the most things we start off with because that's probably a big talking point with a lot of our starting squads is, are we going him R2 or is he R3 and we're going for a more expensive guy? Last couple here. We'll do a super chat from Tim Asher. I must have missed that before. Thank you, mate. He's asking about Windhager or Parrish. So, Tom, I'll go to you because you mentioned Windhager. Could you go him over Parrish?
I don't think it's all. I think it would be and. I think Parrish is just a lock. Price at 72, guy had averaged over 100 before. Just lock that one away. Windhager is a very, very interesting one. If you're going a bit cheaper in the midfield and paying up for a couple of these defenders who have gone pop, then it's definitely a play. As I mentioned as we've all mentioned, I don't love their run. Andy has a bye. So I'm Parrish over Windhager, but you could do both. Yeah. It's two good scores back to back.
Yeah, 140 in that game against the Bombers in the preseason, and then obviously 116 break even is 26 there, but he's probably close to. But he's going to be like near 900k, so he's expensive, right? If he was in the 700s, I'd be a lot more keen. But 860 is a really awkward price. Like it's only 90k away from say Sam Walsh. If you're tossing up between those two, I think I'd rather go Walsh. He's probably the more locked in guy. But Windhager probably will get defender status if he's going to keep this role. So it could be someone that does have that real big breakout. So could be an option, but just a bit awkward price for mine. Final one we'll go with here. Guess I'll go to you. Todd Marshall is what Lee's asking about with that good early run. Obviously scored the 80 in the preseason. Could he be someone you even chuck at, say, an F7 and maybe get some cash in?
Send this one to Taezer. He might have a better answer than I do.
All right, Taze.
Look, Todd Marshall's someone I am definitely considering. I think if he's in that role as the intercepting, the kind of James Sicily type roaming third man defender, I think he can score. I think his floor is probably about 60 and his ceiling could be 75. So I'm interested.
Yeah, he might be possibly for me as well. And yes, I probably should have asked Taze that one because Guesty was on holiday when Port did play, so that's my fault for throwing a Guesty when he wouldn't have watched the game. But that will that'll. What, Tommy?
I'm not as keen as I think he could. I think that floor could be as low as 45, 50. I'm not sure it's an interceptor role. It could just be the second key back along with Aaliyah. We'll see if Ratagalia gets back in the side. If he doesn't, I think he could play as that second tall defender. Doesn't mean he can't score in that role, but I'd want to see it. And with the amount of better, slightly more expensive forward options I think we have, I think I'm going to steer clear. But if he pops it against quite a hard team to score against for defenders in North round one, if he scores well there, it's definitely someone you can jump on. I think he'll still be value whatever he scores in that round one game, heading into Port's decent run.
Yeah, not a bad chart there. And that'll do us for the opening round review. We'll be back tomorrow night to answer all your questions. Apologies we didn't get to your questions in the live chat tonight, but we'll be answering all those tomorrow night. We'll just be questions. A lot of people got a lot of things that they want answered before round one, so we'll be answering all those tomorrow night. And you've got about probably, I'd say about 10, 15 minutes before the giveaway does end with our Patreon as well. So if you're interested in that, want to do that after the pod's finished, I'll be announcing the winner on the Patreon of our 20-minute Zoom call team review for you guys there. So if you'd like to enter that, last chance to be doing that one. But thanks, John, for tuning in. Tom, mate, thanks for jumping on. Where can the people find you?
You can find me on X at Tom_Hales_. Please just tag me in a tweet. I'm not just going to do the look at here's my team. What do you like it? But if you've got actual player questions like this player or that player, happy to give my advice. I don't just want a squad of 30 players though, because there's too many permutations.
So I'm going to tweet at you now. Just put my team in and say thoughts.
You'll get ignored. You'll get ignored. That's absolutely fine.
All good, mate. No, thank you very much for that, Taze, mate. Thank you for jumping on, even though you've been on the road, mate. Where can the people find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Taezer87. And unlike Tom, I'm a man of the people, and I will answer your questions.
The hero, and the villain. I like it. No, thank you, Taze, mate. Appreciate that. And Guesty, I know that people know where to find you, but where can the people find you?
Look, you can find me on all the social pipes at TimGuestAU. One thing I have actually been doing in the off season, I've been doing a lot of educational content on my Instagram. So, if you are someone that's interested in like money management or finance and investing, I mean, who couldn't do with more money, right? I recommend you head across to my Instagram, TimGuestAU, and give us a follow. And you'll see plenty of my face every day.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, mate. And good to hear at TimGuestAU on the pod again. It feels right. It feels right, that's for sure. And you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials and us at AFL Fantasy Fans on X. Thank you for tuning in. If you are listening back on the replay as well, on the pod or the YouTube, tune in live. We'll be live on the Sunday nights when the game's not too late and after the last game. So if you do want to tune in live and get your questions answered and interact with the chat, it's always good fun there. Make sure you do tune in live. And we've got Tuesday night Qs and the Q&As all season, Friday Pre-Lockout Chats as always. So we've got plenty of live shows and plenty of content to come. Make sure you like, subscribe, do all the good stuff on YouTube. Be very much appreciated. 5-star rating review on Apple or Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. And we'll catch you guys tomorrow night for our Q&A. So come ready with your questions ahead of round one. So thanks, everyone. And we'll catch you then. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.